The recent Doom games may have hypercharged the series, but the tighter corridors and comparably slower burn of 2004's Doom 3 seem like they'd be the more natural fit for a straight-to-VR port, at least in theory. In reality, its poorly scaled world, the PSVR's limitation to forward-facing play, and the slippery nature of its still relatively fast-paced combat mean Doom 3 VR Edition is more often a demon-grade headache than a joyride through hell. Both its original campaign and its two DLCs are unaltered, and as a result, unsuited for VR, especially when you compare them to modern PSVR shooters like Blood and Truth or The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners that show what games truly built for the medium can do. 17 years later, and Doom 3 still stacks up as one of id Software's greatest hits. That's thanks to its fantastic arsenal of guns, terrifying enemies, and engaging level design. Packing all of its action into the relatively limited PSVR headset and making it play as well as it does with the delightful but similarly limited gun-shaped aim control could not possibly have been a simple task. It runs great on a technical level, text is remarkably clear to read, and the guns are just as weighty and fun to shoot as the original, especially when the optional aim control thumps with every blast of your pump shotgun. There's a sense of tense exhilaration that comes with shining your flashlight into the dark corners of a room as you navigate its danger-filled halls. However, this port immediately reveals some of the key flaws of just taking a campaign that plays great in 2D and dropping it into virtual reality. Right off the bat, the scale of the world around you is noticeably weird. Even when you adjust the height settings to your real-life height, the terrain itself never feels appropriately sized to accommodate you. Meanwhile, NPCs and even the enemies you fight are irregularly scaled. It's hard to see from outside, but in VR, the disproportion between NPCs and your field of view is almost comical. Like you've stepped into an episode of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, except the kids are face-eating demons. Now, this is especially apparent when comparing an NPC size to that of your weapons, which look huge in your hands and often block your field of view unless you're holding your controller in your lap. Another major issue is the way Doom 3 wants you to move during combat. In later zones, swarms of bite-sized trites, cherubs, and maggots try to surround you in close physical proximity, which makes it paramount that you strafe around and keep your distance. Now that sort of FPS movement feels natural with a keyboard or a gamepad, but is just plain nauseating in the PSVR headset. Now there's no option to move via teleportation either, and doing any kind of strafing or backing up with Doom 3's super slippery movement controls is an instant recipe for motion sickness. While there's an option to activate snap turns and screen blocking vignettes that cover your peripheral vision whenever you turn a corner, playing with those features turned on is an inconvenience when you're tasked with fighting literal waves of demons spawning in every direction. As a result, it's easy to find yourself aiming your controller directly downward and frantically holding your trigger to clear your path of enemies while skittishly darting left and right. Now this happens too often and it's neither comfortable nor fun. All of these frustrations would be easy to move past if Doom 3 had more moments of VR interactivity, but its 10-hour campaign is mostly packed with this fast-paced combat because that's simply how the original was designed. Your hands are bolted to your gun at all times, and your only actions are move, attack, and occasionally push buttons on a computer screen. Now, once again, this style of play works great outside of VR, but the lack of variety in its integrations beyond this is tiring, even when your real-life hands are plastered to the aim controller. Other aim-friendly games like Farpoint, Firewall Zero Hour, and even Borderlands 2 VR feel more tailored to the limitations of PSVR, whereas Doom 3 VR Edition often forgets to accommodate those limitations at all. A PSVR adaptation of a classic as highly esteemed as Doom 3 sounds great in concept, but this port is hurt by its stubborn adherence to the original. It refuses to rebalance its keyboard and gamepad-friendly demon-slaying for motion controls, while also adding very little outside of fights that demand you to experience its world in virtual reality. While a few of its slower, tenser moments do highlight some of VR's charm, they feel almost coincidental when you're then forced to strafe around in intense 360-degree firefights that don't feel very good while locked into the forward-facing PSVR headset. What results is a port that pales in comparison to other better shooters truly meant for VR, or even the experience of playing Doom 3 on a flat screen. For more VR, check out our reviews of The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners and Half-Life Alyx. And for everything else, stick with IGN.